All right. Let's read this, I suppose. Hello, everyone. My name is Brad Franks, and today I'm going to talk about Anonymous. Didn't really know much about them, but I wanted to learn more about them, so I decided to do my speech on them. They're probably the most famous hacker group, or infamous, whatever side of the spectrum you're on. And today I'll talk about the origins of Anonymous. Nope. Today I'm going to talk about the origins of Anonymous, how they attack, and some of their famous operations that they have taken. Hacktivism is a term used to describe a modern form of protest in which hackers fight back non-violently against social and political injustice. These days, a lot of people don't feel that justice is guaranteed by the laws of the land, so they see these hackers as necessary vigilantes that use their specific skill set to defend the good of the world. And the origins of Anonymous. There's a lot of stories out there about how they formed, but most of them go by the same theme. They formed on the image sharing site 4chan.org in 2003. And on the site, you're not allowed to post anonymously, because if you allow people to post anonymously, no one will follow the rules. From this understanding of the term anonymous, the group was formed. In a nutshell, basically. Anonymous's favorite tactic for taking down sites is distributed denial of service attack. The hacker uses a network of zombie computers to sabotage a specific website or server, and they tell their computers to attack this server or site repeatedly until the site slows down or completely crashes. And don't mind my border I have here. I made all these in InDesign, and somehow I got the formatting messed up, so don't shoot me over that. Anonymous versus the Church of Scientology. Anonymous first became widely known when they took on the Church of Scientology. The church was attempting to sue YouTube for after one of its propaganda films was leaked and posted on the site. The video was that of famous Scientologist Tom Cruise. It basically was a video of him talking crazy, like he had been brainwashed and or he's completely delusional. But yeah, they were trying to sue YouTube over that and they weren't very happy about them trying to attempt to censor the internet, basically. They used the DDoS attacks to take down their site. They used black faxes, which was pretty funny. They just sent a whole bunch of black faxes to their fax machines, basically using up all the ink in their fax machines. And they used a tactic known as Google bombing, which is when you search for the word Scientology, other words would come up with it, like dangerous or cult and stuff like that. This was also the first time they protested in person. They showed up at the Church of Scientology wearing their V for Vendetta masks or Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes was known for trying to blow up a whole bunch of people back in the day because he wanted to practice Roman Catholic practices, basically, and that was not allowed under King James VI, so he tried to blow up the homes of Parliament, and he was actually caught and then tortured and killed before that happened. And nothing really came from the Operation Chanology, as it's known, just the fact that they've been put on the map, basically, for mainstream media. Next up was Cybergate. Cybergate in February 2011, Aaron Barr, the CEO of the cybersecurity firm HB Gary Federal, announced that his firm had infiltrated the Anonymous group and was going to leak information about its members, their names and addresses and what have you. And Anonymous was not going to sit back and take that lightly in case he had anything of substance. So they first hacked the firm's website, replacing the logo with one of their own, along with a message saying that Anonymous should not be messed with. They took down the company's phones and also stole 70,000 emails from the CEO's email database system, I guess. And then they create a searchable database of these emails and eventually posted a link to this database from the CEO's Twitter account. And within these emails revealed a larger scandal. They plan to commit cyber attacks against WikiLeaks, which is a whistleblower site that publishes secret information from anonymous sources. And they were going to do some other things they planned against that site as well. And this hack eventually led to the government investigation of the companies involved and the resignation of the CEO. Now, Anonymous versus Sony, known as Operation Sony. In 2011, Anonymous attacked Sony for the January 2011 lawsuit against George Hotz. He is an iPhone hacker that managed to reverse engineer his personal PS3. And he wanted to make small games to run off his PS3 that he would develop for himself. Sony obviously didn't think he should be doing that, so they decided to sue him. But he also did post the method on to do this on his public site, geohot.com. And Anonymous maintained that Hotz owned the system and he is allowed to do as he pleases with it, and that Sony was attempting to censor information about how the product worked. Anonymous used DDoS attacks to take down PlayStation.com, the PlayStation Store, and the PlayStation Network for weeks. And I for one, was greatly affected by this, as I'm an avid console gamer. And Hotz eventually settled out of court with Sony, so, didn't really make nothing of that as well. But Anonymous did claim that they caused Sony's stock to drop, so I guess that was a victory for them in that sense, I guess. And Anonymous versus Internet pedophiles, known as Operation Darknet. Members of Anonymous discovered a cache of the sites of roughly 40 plus child pornography sites in 2011 while browsing a secret website called Hidden Wiki, which is a guide of hundreds of obviously hidden websites. And like I said, they found 40 plus child porn sites, with the most popular being Lolita City. I don't know anything about them. And Anonymous sent a warning, stated that if they will attack if they don't remove all child pornography from their servers, which they did not cooperate and do. So Anonymous took down all the websites using DDoS, and then they also released 1,500 names from the pedophile sites' active members to the public. Oddly enough, one of the members was supposedly an Anonymous. So. This also exposed a darker side of the internet referred to as the darknet. Darknet includes any site that is hidden from view, not meaning hard to reach, but is purposely concealed, so you can't find it unless you knew exactly how, basically. And as a result, the sites ceased to exist today. I'm sure others exist in their place, but in 2011, those sites ceased to exist. And Anonymous warned any future returning sites of the same fate. Westboro Baptist Church. I'm sure a lot of you know Westboro Baptist Church is famous for picketing war veterans' funerals, basically saying they show up and sing the praise of God for the glory of his work and executing his judgment, as they say. And they plan to do the same for the Sandy Hook victims' funerals as well. Anonymous wasn't too happy about that. They weren't going to stand by and let something like that go on. So they tried to stop this by doing a number of things. First, they took down the website with a DDoS attack. They hacked many Twitter accounts releasing personal information of the members of the Westboro Baptist Church. They posted the names, addresses, social security numbers. They also filed a death certificate in the name of Shirley Phelps Roper, who is a spokeswoman for the WBC, preventing her from being able to use her social security number until she obviously got it figured out again. So. They also found a way to take over her personal DVR and record gay porn, just for fun, I guess. Due to all the attacks, the WBC was unable to make it to the funerals, and they were forced to sit that one out. So, I guess Anonymous played some role. Who knows whether large or small? They played a role in them preventing them from picketing the funerals of Sandy Hook funerals there. Then you have the Steubenville rape, which I'm sure a lot of you know about. Steubenville, Ohio, some football players from the high school carried a girl around apart from party to party and sexually assaulted her. Recorded a lot of it, posted on Twitter, did a lot of stuff like that. Small town like that, it's basically, you know, like in a movie. Like, the town shuts down Friday nights to watch football. The football players are heroes. The alumni are idolized, basically. So, needless to say, the police were not very swift to act in the case of the rape. This happened at a summer party, and it didn't actually go to trial until I think this past January or March or one of the two. But yeah, Anonymous found and released footage that appeared to be following the rape of the boys, bragging about the rape and making jokes about how dead she looked, basically. They managed to retrieve a lot of the tweets that had already been deleted, obviously, from their personal accounts of the football players. They found those and released those to the public, and they released the video to the public as well. Pretty much making the story a mainstream story, so almost everybody knew about it. And thus, pretty much, I'm not going to say single-handedly forcing them to send the kids to trial and charge them with rape, but they played a hand in it for sure. And like I said, they went to trial and they were convicted of sexual assault, and the two boys are going to spend some time in the juvenile detention center until they turn 21. To conclude, love Anonymous or hate them, they're probably here to stay. So if you're an internet pedophile, a hate group hiding behind the cloak of God, or you try to take away freedoms of others, expect them.
Good presentation, Roy. Anything recent that you've heard of as far as these guys have been involved in this year?
This year, they actually, I don't know if it was this year, but recently they found out, they basically released the identification of some Chinese hackers that were working for the Chinese government, trying to get involved with that. So they released that information to the FBI or whoever. They helped figure that out. This year they're actually supposedly going to be attacking Sony again.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't read too much into that, but supposedly they're not very happy with Sony again as well. So.
You mentioned the Baptist church. I'm from near Joplin, Missouri, when they had the tornado.
Mm-hmm.
You heard that?
Yeah.
And the Baptist church was on their way to do what they usually do.
Okay.
Saying it was the judgment of God. Anyway, I know some friends that are they're bikers. The Hell's Angels actually some of them are part of the Hell's Angels. Anyway, they found them on the highway. They blocked them in a truck stop.
Okay.
Like 50 bikers and told them to go back to
Nice.
where they came from.
Nice.
So,
Good deal.
Good presentation. Good hand. Good job.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is new technologies using biometrics. Just point it towards the Mac, and then this advance, and you go back. And you have video on yours, right?
Yeah.
I'll wait. I'll stay up here and play for you. I think I remember what's happening. So
All right.
it's all yours. Go ahead and go.
All right. So today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about biometric technologies. I'm sure you guys have heard of this. You might have even used them in the past. It's, fingerprint scanners, stuff like that. All right. So the term biometrics can refer to two things. It can refer to biometric characteristics and biometric processes. And biometric characteristics are the actual biological and behavioral characteristics of an individual that can be measured to provide automated recognition. So these are our fingerprints, these are the irises of our eyes, they're the facial features on our face that can be recognized to provide recognition. Also, biometric processes are the actual methods of recognizing these biometric characteristics and providing the automated recognition. So these are the systems, the things that actually pick up the fingerprints and the eye scans. So one of the most prevalent and familiar technologies is probably fingerprint recognition. It's been used for identification for over a century, and it works by identifying the ridge endings and areas where the ridges split on our fingerprints. And they call these minutiae, and you can see them over on this picture over here. They're kind of highlighted over there. And it compares these minutiae with the other prints on record to provide a match. And the most common readers take an optical picture of your fingerprint. And then there's also some scanners that call it capacitive scanners, and they identify the individual peaks and valleys of our fingerprints using a small electrical current. Some pros to fingerprint recognition is that you cannot forget or lose your fingerprints like you can on with passwords or key cards. And also, it's a mature technology, and it can provide some pretty good accuracy. Some cons are that some optical-based scanners cannot tell the difference between a real finger and a real high-quality photo of a fingerprint. And some capacitive-based scanners can be fooled with a mold of a person's fingerprint. But there's scanners that are including pulse and heat detectors to ensure that the finger is alive when it's placed on the scanner. Another con is that physical contact with the scanner can transmit germs. So you won't want to use this in like a hospital or someplace that's real sensitive for transmittable diseases. Another technology is iris recognition. It first became available in products around '95. It works by illuminating the eye with an infrared light, which isn't visible to the eye, and it won't cause discomfort, but it helps illuminate a little bit so the camera can pick up the structures. And the next step is to locate the structures of the eye, like the pupil in the middle, that dark spot, and then the iris is the actual colored portion around the outside. And it analyzes the distinct features of the iris and translates it into a code. And that code is compared to others on the database to determine a match. And some pros of iris recognition is that the iris is not as susceptible to damage as fingerprints. We use our hands for everything, and our fingerprints, they can be, burned, cut, God forbid you lose a finger. But irises, they are sensitive, but we protect them a little bit more. We will shield our eyes with our hands. So we'd rather lose a hand than lose an eye. So the iris is a little more protected than fingerprints. And also it's more accurate than fingerprints. It uses 200 plus points of reference versus 60 or 70 on a fingerprint. And also it does not require direct contact with the scanner. Some cons, however, are that accuracy can be affected by changes in light, and some scanners can be fooled using high quality images of an iris that's been held up to the scanner. The next technology I'm going to talk about is facial recognition. It uses the distinct features of a person's face, like the distance between the eyes, the width of the nose, the depth of the eye sockets. And it can use 2D photos that have been scanned into the system or 3D images that are being captured from live video. How it works is that after the image is taken, the system determines the position of the person's head and what angle it's facing. And it measures the different parts of the face, like the angle of the chin line, the length of the nose, and it takes those measurements and translates it into a code with different values representing the measurements of the person's face. And this code is compared to faces already enrolled in the system to provide a match. And some pros of facial recognition is that 3D recognition systems, which actually take a 3D model of a face from like a video, they have the capability to recognize a face that is turned up to 90 degrees away from a camera and in suboptimal lighting conditions. So you can use that to pick out like a face from a crowd if they're trying to like find a suspect for something. You can use it for that. Also, facial recognition systems are non-intrusive. You don't have to put your face up to a scanner or put your finger on anything, so it's non-contact also and it won't transmit germs. Some cons to facial recognition is that older 2D systems that just look at a face straight on require the user to be facing at least 35 degrees towards the camera, and that's not really good for today's use. And some people are uncomfortable with their picture being taken without their consent. Like if there's a camera on like a street corner that's snapping photos of people as they walk by looking for a suspect, some people don't like their photo being taken without their permission. And also some systems can suffer from low accuracy. The next part of my presentation, I'm going to talk about some new technologies that are integrating biometrics into their function. One technology would make it possible for you to use your thoughts as a password. Researchers at UC Berkeley have developed a system that could authenticate you just by you thinking of your password. It uses a commercially available portable EEG machine to read the electrical impulses from your brain and transmits them to a via Bluetooth to a nearby computer. And reportedly has less than 1% error rate. But of course, the whole downside to this system is that you have to wear that bulky head thing to be authenticated. So obviously that's not realistic for today's uses. But maybe in the future they could, refine it further and we could use that. Another system is called Heart ID by Bionym, and it provides authentication by measuring the unique rhythm with which your heart beats. It does not measure the heart rate, which can vary, of course, based on physical activity and or how relaxed you are. It supposedly measures the unique rhythm with which your heart beats, as you can see in this photo over here. And some possible implementation for this can include like smartphones and tablets, where it could read your heartbeat through your fingertips and authenticate a user. So like if you had a tablet at home with like a few user profiles on it, somebody could just pick it up and it would immediately authenticate them, see who they are, and bring them into their specific user account. And then the last technology I'm going to talk about is called IVerify, and it uses eye vein biometrics. And this technology can be implemented in smartphones, and it allows a user to be verified based on the patterns of the veins in the corners of their eyes. And I have a short video here that kind of explains that technology.
Hey, this is Dan Siefer with The Verge, and we're here in Barcelona.
It's obviously not showing up.
New technology for smartphones called IVerify. IVerify uses the smartphone.
Yeah, it's supposed to have a video of it's supposed to have a video of him actually showing.
Users based on the whites of
That appears to not be working. But anyway, I can explain it actually probably better than just him talking.
You can talk, okay.
Yeah. So what it does is you take your camera phone, and it takes pictures of the corners of your eyes. It tells you to move your eyes left and then right, and it snaps a photo of the veins on the corners of your eyes, and it records that into the system, and you can later use it to verify. You just have to point your camera at your eye. It'll take a photo of your eye and it'll verify you that way. So that's the end. Is there any questions? Oh yeah.
Did they have any problems with facial recognition for people that have like heavy beards?
Heavy beards.
Since chin length calculation part of it.
I'm not sure. I didn't read necessarily. I didn't really catch that kind of tidbit, but I could see why that would cause a problem. But I think I did read somewhere that there are technologies out there that can kind of compensate for that, but I'm not entirely sure. You have to do some separate.
Facial recognition for authenticating.
Mm-hmm.
Did you say anything on that, like for authenticating computer access, door access?
You can use it for.
Facial?
You can use it for any of those kind of things. Yeah, there's a lot of different uses for facial recognition. Smartphones are already implementing them.
Right.
There's airports have them. A lot of different places can have that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's give him a hand. Good presentation.
Thank you.
All right. You got your USB drive?
Yeah, okay.
All right. Next up, we've got the MD4 hashtag.
I'll stay up here for your video.
All right.
All right, let's get more attention.
All right. I'm Tyler Gray. I've been here for 2 years. I'm studying computer security, and I chose to do my paper on MD4 hashing. MD4 isn't in use very much today. It's been upgraded quite a bit. We're actually on MD6 now, but I'm going to cover that in a minute. But I guess let's get started. Maybe. There we go. Okay. MD4 is an algorithm for hashing strings, files, anything you could need to store securely. So a hash function is defined as a one-way function which takes a variable length message and produces a fixed length hash. Given the hash, it is computationally infeasible to find a message with that hash. In fact, one can't determine any usable information about a message with that hash, not even a single bit, literally a bit. For some one-way hash functions, it's also computationally impossible to determine two messages which produce the same hash. Originally, MD4 was thought that messages could not have the same hash. Now we've found today that it is, in fact, possible, which is one of the reasons why it's been upgraded. But basically, what these functions do is take a string, no matter the length, and convert it into characters that you can't really understand just by looking at them. It just looks like random. We saw it a little bit with the email encryption, and those were hashes too. But it makes them into these hashes that are always the same length, and then they can be compared to later by another program. There we go. So what are some of the uses of hashes? Secure storage of passwords. If you have a database, say, and you store everybody's password in plain text, and somebody gets a hold of that database, you're going to have serious problems because now they know all the information about everybody or everything in there. So you can store these hashes in the database and compare the hash value of the password they input with the value in the database. So there is no actual storage of their real password. The second use would be to verify file integrity. A file you can hash as well, and it will give it what they would call a checksum. And this can be sent to someone who you're sending a file. They can go and check the hash of the file. There's free websites. You could have programs to do it. And they can make sure that those hashes match up to see that nobody had tampered with the file or completely replaced it with something else. So here's a little example of how it would keep your password safe. Let's say you have an ATM card, and we don't actually do this anymore, but they do it in the UK, where your PIN is actually stored on your ATM card. And you put your card in the machine, and it has the hash on your card, rather, not your actual PIN. And then when you enter your PIN in, it runs that PIN through the same hash algorithm, and then it compares the two. And if your two different hashes are the same, then you're authenticated. And so that's kind of a quick, this is actually in our book too, so I thought it was a pretty neat example. But that's kind of how they would work with authentication. And here's actually the description I just gave you, so skip that. And then the second thing where I was talking about with files would be a man-in-the-middle attack. So here's an example. User 1 wants to send user 2 a file. The original file hash is there. I'm not going to read it off. But that file gets intercepted by a man in the middle. The file is altered and then sent to the user 2. User 2 then checks the file hash on, like I said, there's free websites and stuff, and notices that, hey, that hash doesn't match with whatever you told me. Obviously, if you're sending the hash in like the same email as the file, it's probably not the best way to do it. But to communicate the hash to them via a way they couldn't get, or that it couldn't get intercepted. So that's how you can kind of verify a file with it. And again, there's kind of a same explanation there. So what is MD4? MD stands for Message Digest. 4 is the version of it. Is the second line, which is kind of strange, but it's the second one of the Message Digest algorithms. They're all developed by Ronald Rivest. Success is MD2, which is actually the first version. So it goes 2, 4, 5, 6. And yeah, it's been surpassed now by 5 and 6. Some things to know. MD4 was released in 1990, so it's fairly old now, which could kind of explain why it's been cracked. The hashes are always 32 characters in length, no matter what the text string is. And in my paper, I actually put a little phrase and hashed it, and it's 32 characters, and I said, well, now I'm going to hash my whole paper and put it in here, and it's still 32 characters, the entire paper. So that was kind of neat. It's been cracked, but originally it was thought to be impossible to get the original text out of the hash, which in the newer versions it is impossible. It's theoretically impossible for them to have the same length, or the same hash, 2 different strings. MD4 wasn't widely used. It kind of went right to MD5 because it had several flaws. They did discover ways to create the same hash from different strings. So it wasn't very widely used, and that was kind of hard to find research on it because not many people used it. I think the video might be next. Yeah. It's kind of quiet.
cache.onlineconvert.com/md4generator. I couldn't find any decent videos on YouTube or anything demonstrating anything like this. Basically everything was how to crack MD4 hashes. So I'm just going to give you a quick tutorial. There's 2 things you could hash potentially with MD4. You could do a text string, or you could hash an entire file. So I'm going to do both, but first I'll show you how to do a text string. It's pretty straightforward and easy, but there's my plain text string. This is a text string.
Yeah, it didn't record it, apparently.
And here is the hash value of that text string. Now,
Did it
there's
it
no
froze, I
way,
think.
theoretically, MD4 has been cracked.
MD4, did you have that video separately on there?
Yeah, I have the lower resolution one, if you want to go to that instead.
Guys,
Yeah, you have it on the USB.
Oh, yeah.
We'll
One
do it that
second.
way. We'll take a second.
It was a very large recording, so
alright.
it's taking a minute to load. For the minute.
That's all right.
Not quite big enough.